I had never made a call to Diddy, really? I got Diddy's number, just hit him up. Yo, Diddy, what up? Never happened.
You feel strong enough about something, then you might put a little before you say exactly what you're.
For almost 3 decades, Sean Diddy Combs built a massive empire off pressure, power plays, and pure influence. He ran rooms, checked rivals, and made sure everyone in his orbit knew exactly who was in charge. Artists showed respect, stayed in line, and treated the bad boy name like it was untouchable. But there was one rapper he never stepped to, one artist who spent years calling him out by name, firing off shots in verses, and hinting at things the industry doesn't like discussed. And somehow, Diddy never answered back. Not a single time. That rapper was Eminem, and there's a real reason Diddy stayed silent. Most people brushed it off, thinking M was just trolling or being edgy for shock value. But in reality, he was signaling something deeper. Why Diddy couldn't really make a move against him? This wasn't about sales, charts, or money. It went way beyond rap. It came down to real backing, real protection, and a level of respect you can't buy. From the circles M was tied into, to his refusal to play industry politics, to standing his ground during some of hip-hop's wildest eras, Eminem moved differently. Add 50 Cent's unwavering loyalty to the mix, and the picture starts to come into focus. Every diss, every slick bar, every eerie reference wasn't accidental. M was sending a clear message. He wasn't someone to test. That's the real reason Diddy never came at Eminem. And once you see it, everything you thought you knew about both of them starts to flip. But before we break it all down, you need to understand what truly set Marshall Mathers apart from everyone else in the game. This was never about chart positions or Grammy trophies. This was about something the industry almost never says out loud. Real backing. The kind you can't buy, fake, or clean up with a PR spin. Most artists who challenge a mogul like Diddy feel it almost immediately. Careers slow, radio support vanishes, doors quietly close. But Eminem wasn't most artists. He had something money and influence couldn't touch, something the industry machine couldn't just shut down. Support from people who didn't care about Billboard rankings or red carpets. That's where the real tension began. Eminem had connections to highly respected circles on the West Coast, including members of the Samoan community, most notably the Booyah tribe. These weren't industry insiders or music executives. These were people known for loyalty, structure, and respect earned far outside the music business. When Eminem's manager, Paul Rosenberg, connected with Monster Jew from the regime, it wasn't about a deal or publicity. According to Jaya, there were real concerns about pressure Eminem was facing at the time, not rumors, but serious issues that needed handling. That period led to the 2003 track 911 with Booyah Tribe and Baru. But the song itself wasn't the main point. The message was, Eminem wasn't standing alone. When certain people tried to make Eminem check in, that unwritten rule where artists acknowledge local authority or show respect, most celebrities would have folded, paid up, and played along. Eminem didn't. He held his position. Once it became clear that pressing Eminem meant dealing with his Samoan allies, the temperature dropped fast. Word spread quickly through LA's hip-hop circles. Eminem wasn't just another artist you could test or push around. He had real backing and the confidence to stand on it. And Diddy, someone who understood power and pressure better than almost anyone, knew exactly what that signaled. But the Samoan support was only one piece of the puzzle. What really exposed Eminem's mindset and sent a loud message to industry power players happened during a moment that's now hip-hop legend. Early 2000s, the NDA Club video shoot, one of the biggest moments of that era. The set was packed, cameras rolling, energy high. Everything felt locked in, until at DIDN T. Suddenly Suge Knight showed up uninvited with a large group. According to people on set, this wasn't a friendly pop-in. It was a straight power move. Suga's reputation alone was enough to make rooms go silent. Tony Yayo later broke down how tense it got. Even the game confirmed it years later on Vlad TV. This wasn't casual at all. It was Suga expecting everyone to move aside. Security froze. Industry execs didn't want smoke. Most people stepped back. But Eminem didn't. According to Tony Yayo, M stood his ground and refused to be intimidated. And in that moment, everything became clear.
He had some Mexican niggas. Now, we from New York. You ain't never seen a nigga with a tattoo on his forehead. 118th Street crew. I'm like, what the f***? This is when I knew Eminem was real. He's like, I don't give a f***, man. This is when I knew, I'm like, damn, Eminem is a real nigga. These niggas 50 niggas outside, what's up? And then the nigga Suge just walked.
While others backed away from a man known for pressure tactics, blacklisting, and intimidation, Eminem didn't flinch. He didn't care about the reputation. He didn't care about the power tied to the name. He stood there like someone who wasn't worried about consequences. No theatrics, no posturing, no begging, just calm confidence. The situation ended without anything popping off, but the message landed loud and clear. Eminem wasn't someone you could scare, press, or move around. and the industry never forgot that moment. Suga didn't leave because Eminem backed down. He left because pushing it further meant bigger problems. At that point, it wasn't just about one rapper anymore. Escalating meant dealing with people who didn't care about industry status or old reputations. And make no mistake, Diddy was watching. He saw how Eminem handled one of the most feared figures in hip-hop without panic. No submission, no fear. Just steady pressure. That alone sent a message. This wasn't someone you could bully, control, or silence with industry tactics. Street backing and standing firm already separated Eminem from the pack. But what really made Diddy hesitate came next. In the early 2000s, a powerful alliance formed when Eminem signed 50 Cent to Shady Records in 2002. This wasn't just business. It was the pairing of two forces that balanced each other perfectly. Eminem's fearlessness with 50 Cent's real-world credibility. Together, they became something the industry couldn't intimidate.
Everything else happened because at that point, when you're saying that this is what's next and this is what you really believe in, who disagrees with you when you're selling 23 million records on the Marshall Mathers LP? You see what I'm saying? Everybody wants to do what you want to do at that point, and then because of his support, it got the right look, and I was able to have the largest debut in hip-hop.
50 Cent wasn't an industry plant or a lucky breakout. He came into the game with a real reputation, having survived multiple attempts on his life and still coming back stronger. He had deep roots in New York and a name built on never backing down. When he linked up with Eminem, the industry took notice immediately. The message was simple. This wasn't a duo 2 test. What made that alliance especially serious for someone like Diddy wasn't just influence, it was loyalty. This wasn't a mentor situation you could disrupt with money or pressure. 50 respected Eminem as a person, not just an artist. And that kind of loyalty can't be bought. Everyone at the top understood that. The respect went both ways. Over the years, 50 made it clear he was always ready to stand up for Eminem. Anyone coming at M wasn't dealing with one person, they were dealing with both. From public commentary to constant pressure, 50's presence worked like a shield around Eminem. From Diddy's perspective, going after Eminem meant instant conflict with both Eminem and 50 Cent at the same time. And that's not a simple rap back, that's a collision with two of the most fearless and well-connected figures in hip-hop. They weren't just linked through music, they were backed by real credibility and unbreakable loyalty to each other. Diddy built influence using dividend pressure tactics, isolating people, cutting off support, letting industry weight do the work. Eminem and 50 were the opposite, a solid front. No cracks, no price tag. That's what made the situation dangerous for Diddy. You couldn't buy them off, you couldn't scare them, and you definitely couldn't split them apart. With protection locked in and alliances firm, Eminem started doing what very few rappers ever dared to do consistently, calling Diddy out directly. Again and again, louder over time. These weren't random jabs or throwaway bars. They were calculated, strategic.
Got a beautiful wife, kids, and a gorgeous home. What would make me jump in the tub with a cordless phone? I'm straight vicious, I hit you with plates and dishes, leave you with 8 stitches. When I'm gay cause I hate, don't be nice to me, I've had it with girls, and I'll still be mad at the world, even if it apologized to me.
Each one hinted at what Eminem seemed to understand about how things really moved behind the scenes. The pattern started early. Back in 1996, on a track called Effin' Crazy, a young Eminem was already taking shots at the bad boy empire, suggesting he could step into Puff's space and shake the whole thing up. At the time, most people brushed it off as raw battle rap energy. But looking back now, that verse doesn't feel random at all. It feels more like the opening shot in a quiet, long-running rivalry. Once Eminem hit full mainstream status, the shots stopped being subtle. They got direct. On the Marshall Mathers LP, he openly dismissed Diddy. No coded bars, no hiding behind metaphors. Then on I'm Back, he pushed it even further, referencing Diddy's very public relationship with Jennifer Lopez and basically implying he could take her if he wanted, and Diddy would just have to live with it. That wasn't just shock value, that was intentional provocation. What made these shots different from normal rap beef was the consistency. Most artists fire once, feel the heat, then pull back when the pressure shows up. Eminem did the opposite. Album after album, year after year. He kept Diddy's name in rotation, and Diddy never really responded. Stop and think about that. In hip-hop, getting called out by name usually brings a reaction, especially when it's someone on Eminem's level. Silence doesn't always read as strength in that world. Sometimes it reads like avoidance. And Diddy staying quiet told its own story. It suggested a power dynamic people weren't expecting. Eminem wasn't just throwing insults for attention, he was challenging Diddy's image in real time. Every unanswered line chipped away at that untouchable aura. It made Diddy look more cautious, more selective, more careful about what he chose to engage. This wasn't just punchlines or shock bars, it was pressure, psychological, strategic.
Eminem used his platform to show that even with money, influence, and connections, Diddy didn't want to step into that situation. Why? Because M had real backing, strong alliances, and nothing to prove. and Diddy knew responding could open a door he couldn't fully control. But Eminem's pressure was about to hit a whole new level. In 2018, everything shifted. Machine Gun Kelly went at Eminem, and M responded with a track designed to shut it down completely. And it worked. MGK's momentum clearly took a hit. But buried inside that response was a line that had nothing to do with MGK and everything to do with Diddy. Eminem dropped what many fans still call one of the most shocking lyric moments in modern hip-hop. In a diss aimed at someone else, he made a reference tying Diddy to one of the most sensitive topics in rap history, Tupac Shakur. The bar caught everyone off guard. Eminem implied that the day MGK would drop a real hit would be the same day Diddy would admit involvement in what happened to Pac. Then he followed it up with, "I'm just playing, Diddy. You know I love you." But by then, it was already out there. Think about how bold that was. Eminem casually referenced one of hip-hop's most controversial subjects and connected it to one of the most powerful figures in the industry on a song heard by millions. And he delivered it calmly, almost effortlessly, like he wasn't worried about any fallout at all. It didn't feel accidental. It felt deliberate. The reaction was immediate. The hip-hop world went into overdrive. Reaction videos flooded YouTube. Fans replayed the lyric again and again. Industry conversations went quiet, then loud behind closed doors. Everyone asked the same question. Did Eminem really just say that? And the bigger question was even louder. Why didn't Diddy respond? At that point, this wasn't a normal diss anymore. This was Eminem showing he could say almost anything about Diddy on a record, and nothing would happen. Public. And nothing ever came back his way. No response record. No legal noise. No industry pushback. Just silence. And that silence spoke louder than any reply ever could. That's when it started clicking for people. This wasn't just strategy or quiet restraint. Diddy didn't want to engage. Because if Eminem was bold enough to publicly touch one of hip-hop's most sensitive subjects, people started asking a dangerous question. What else might he know? And how far would he really go? After the kill shot moment, things shifted behind the scenes. Other industry power players started watching closely, and what they saw confirmed something many already suspected. Eminem moved by a completely different set of rules. The traditional hip-hop power structure is simple. Moguls control careers through radio connections, favors, and quiet pressure. Cross them, and things slowly stop working. Records don't get played. Features disappear. Doors quietly close. It's a system that's kept artists in line for decades. But Eminem never fit that system. His success didn't depend on mogul approval or industry politics. He built everything off raw skill, a fiercely loyal fan base, and a level of independence most artists never reach. So when Eminem went at Diddy, nothing happened. No fallout. No punishment. Because there couldn't be. The usual tools, blacklisting, radio pressure, behind-the-scenes maneuvering, didn't work on someone who never needed them in the first place. And that created a real problem for Diddy. For the first time, he was dealing with someone he couldn't control, couldn't silence, and couldn't pressure using the old playbook. Eminem had the one thing moguls fear more than anything else: total creative freedom and financial independence. Once that kind of power is exposed, intimidation stops working. Behind closed doors, industry insiders started whispering. A figure known for controlling narratives and shutting down opposition was being openly challenged by someone who looked completely untouchable. And every day Diddy stayed silent only made it worse. The longer it went on, the weaker that untouchable image looked. The shift was obvious to anyone paying attention. Eminem wasn't dissing for shock value. He was proving the old rules didn't apply to him. And that realization sent a message through the industry. The game had changed. But the moment that truly gave weight to Eminem's long-running hints came in November 2023. That's when things he'd been alluding to for years suddenly spilled into the public spotlight. Cassie Ventura filed a lawsuit against Sean Combs, accusing him of serious misconduct, long-term abuse, and control tactics inside their relationship. The claims painted a picture that sharply contradicted the polished bad boy image the public had accepted for decades. Within 24 hours, The case was settled for a reported $20 million. The speed of that settlement raised eyebrows everywhere. While it was meant to shut the situation down quickly, the damage was already done. Public perception shifted almost overnight. Suddenly, Eminem's past lyrics didn't sound like random shock bars anymore. Fans who had followed his music closely began connecting dots. The references, the hints, the repeated warnings about what might be happening behind the scenes. Those lines started sounding less like exaggeration and more like signals hiding in plain sight. For a lot of people, that was the chilling realization. Eminem wasn't guessing. He was saying things others wouldn't or couldn't say out loud. The settlement sent a quiet but powerful message across the industry. While many celebrated Diddy's success and ignored rumors for years, Eminem had been consistently drawing attention to darker undertones through his music. And now, those long-ignored warnings were reflected in official court filings. But here's what really stood out. Even after public opinion shifted, even after the Cassie lawsuit lined up with years of Eminem's hints, Diddy still never responded. No defamation claim, no public pushback, no visible industry pressure, just silence. And that silence spoke volumes. To many observers, it suggested Diddy knew Eminem wasn't bluffing. More than that, it raised an even bigger question. What else might Eminem know? And what would happen if he ever decided to say it outright? The most unsettling moment in this timeline came in July 2024. That's when Eminem released The Death of Slim Shady, an album many fans now view as eerily prophetic. On the track Fuel, listeners immediately caught a specific wordplay moment, spelling rapper without the P while referencing serious misconduct. The bars were sharp, deliberate, and impossible to miss. Fans knew exactly who he was pointing at. What made it even more chilling was the timing. The song dropped months before authorities publicly moved against Diddy. While investigators were reportedly building their case behind the scenes, Eminem was already addressing the exact type of allegations that would later dominate headlines. To fans, it didn't feel random. It didn't feel accidental. It felt like a warning. When federal charges were later announced and Sean Combs was taken into custody in September 2024, many people felt the same realization hit all at once. This wasn't something that happened overnight. The hip-hop world had been watching this tension build for nearly 3 decades. Only at the end did the full picture come into focus. Eminem wasn't just dissing Diddy. To those paying close attention, it looks like he was calling things out the entire time, hiding warnings in plain sight long before anyone else was willing to say anything. What once sounded like shock bars now feels different. More intentional, more calculated. And when you line everything up, the silence, the timing, the lyrics, they all start telling the same story.